Hello everybody, it's your boy Proftrof and we're back again with another Mandalore Gaming review. This is Thief 1. Okay, I gotta be honest, I played this when I was very little. Listen, I can very easily describe to you how little I was when I played this. I remember the graphics being better than they actually are. Do you know, y'all have this, where you remember a certain game and you remember that game being insanely good looking, but then again you look at the game now and it's like, wow, that shit is ugly. Wow, that is so ugly. That's how I remember Thief 1. I remember I was actually pretty afraid of playing some levels. I stopped. I remember I was pretty fucking afraid when I played this game, so I stopped at some points. I don't even remember where. I think it was like a dungeon. It was something of a dungeon. And I stopped. I was too much of a pussy then. Nothing has changed, huh? But this game was very good. A lot of people say it's like one of the best stealth games ever made. The water arrows were kind of stupid. I remember that. You had the blackjack that you clap people with, right? Whatever it was called. Yeah, the graphics are now pretty sci-fi sound though. Yoink, 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 yoink. New York Simulator.
I love this game. Thief is a first-person stealth adventure. It's one of those defining titles for the immersive sim genre, though I've never cared for the name that much. Especially since, unlike a lot of other immersive sim games, our protagonist can't exactly become a combat god. But before doing all that, there are some things that can be fixed up. The good news is on Steam the game will run, but
I'm going to the bear pits tomorrow.
800,
it
600.
may be running too fast, and we can do better. Okay, so Thief uses the Dark Engine. It was made for Thief, and all of 3 games used it, including Thief 2. So not the best
Thief
odds
3
for
as
having
well?
long-term support. But the GOG version is significantly better. It runs correctly, has widescreen, more options. How did that work out?
Damn
Well, they
GOG.
used the new Dark Engine. They didn't make that. It comes from someone only known as The Raven. It added compatibility, removed tons of bugs.
Why you do my
From
boy
someone
like
only
this?
known as The Raven. It added
Why you do my boy like that? Well, okay, come on, get back. Well, damn. Those are not shoes a Raven would wear, by the way.
It added compatibility, removed tons of bugs. There was no reason not to use it. But we're not done
Polish?
because what's T-Fix? That would be Thief Fix, which also gives the latest new Dark version. It fixes more things and adds new visuals and enhancements. Some of the visual changes are significant. There are some Thief 2 assets that I think look very out of place in 1, but an option like interactive candles is a huge change to how you play some levels. So you could install that and uncheck near everything, or just install T-Fix Lite, which is all the fixes. That's what I'd recommend for your first time through. You could also want that creative text sound, but you don't have a sound card. It's not your fault. Who does anymore? As we all know, Fatality was the only one making them, all alone in his garage. There's no room for them now that he makes trail mix or some shit now. So you could use a solution like Creative Alchemy or Brush. There's no room for them now that he makes trail mix.
Gamer food. Cashews of chaos. Bruh. 12-time world champion. In what? Stop eating like a noob. Get gamer food. Oh.
Or some shit now. So you could use a solution like Creative Alchemy or browse around to find what would work for you. I'll pin links to all this stuff, no worries. It's pretty quick and hassle-free to do all this, and you'll enjoy your time with the game that much more. Just listen to that ambience. Look, I'm saving the really good examples for later.
Okay.
For now, let's start the game with the most late 90s
I
intro.
was like, what the fuck am I listening to? I remember the intro was amazing. That was not a suicide, by the way, YouTube.
This intro is amazing. I'm a fan of having music you wouldn't expect for your setting, but accompanying it with a creative music video stylized intro, that just raises the bar so high. You should expect unconventional. I mean, the game comes in a trapezoid for Christ's sake. Ironically, you'll get a lot
What's
more
the
out of the intro
trapezoid?
once you've beaten the game. So let's skip ahead to where things are less abstract. The story follows a property reassigner named Garrett. He started life as an urchin,
Property reassigner. I need to remember that. That's good. That's good. That's very
on the
good.
streets to survive.
That's good. That's good.
Until
that's good.
one day
Oh,
his
fuck,
talents
I
were
read back.
noticed and he was brought into a mysterious organization known as the Keepers. The Keepers trained Garrett further in honing his stealth and other skills, but he eventually left to pursue his own purpose. The Keepers trained Garrett further in honing his stealth and other skills.
What is this? Basketball for the special? How do you miss? Is it possible not to have the ball go in?
But he eventually left to pursue his own life
Wow.
of thievery. And the game follows just that, playing Garrett's various crime jobs until things get weird. I'll talk more about the story and writing later, but for now that's all you need to know. Garrett's a fun character and you really are along for a ride with him.
I wonder if he reads them or if it's just for show.
They're probably just for show, meant to impress the ladies.
Let's start with the visuals.
ladies.
Thief takes place in a gothic medieval setting, with a few twists here and there. You travel from cathedrals to mansions to graveyards to tombs.
Yoinking
Then again,
shit.
a tomb is just a country club version of a graveyard for rich people. But anyway, it's a dark and creepy world. And in the game, despite being an early 3D game, it has some fantastic art direction. I find a lot of it striking even today.
Yeah, it looks
Of course,
amazing.
it is a game from '98, so not everything can be a winner. Especially character models, but
98.
what can you expect?
Damn.
What's really cool and central to gameplay is the lighting. Sticking to the darkness is key for survival, so the game has dramatic shadows to complement this. It's
This thing on the bottom shows how lit you are.
straightforward, though if you're still unsure, your light gem will show how exposed you are. This is what the game considers absolute darkness, so you could just assume that Garrett has really good night vision. Of course, as a treasure hunter, you might want to leave some lights on if you can. Leaving on a torch or fireplace can help find trinkets in a room, and flipping on electric lights can help you find your bearings in a confusing layout. Oh yeah, I didn't mention that. It's also a
Yeah, it's
steampunk setting.
steampunk.
Well, kind of. Once again, that's more of a broad term. It's more of a medieval setting that happens to have some electronics. There's no top hats and gunpowder or everything relying on clockwork. Instead, you'll break into a prison where everyone is dressed like a crusader and speaking King James Bible.
King James Bond.
When they come of age and know not how to accomplish aught of consequence.
Then it's full of industrial
I think this is
machinery
where I quit.
and security cameras.
I was afraid. Okay. It's creepy.
So for me, the
game
term
is creepy.
steampunk undersells how unique the world is. Their technology doesn't look to be fantastical. If anything, it looks to be unreliable. Thief 2 is a different story, but that's for another day. So style-wise, it's a unique-looking game, and the lighting effects especially elevate the atmosphere. Still, even above that, when I think of Thief, I think of sound. There are first-person games today that don't propagate sound as well as Thief does. You can hear how far guards are,
Dude,
gauge how
ran
loud your
fast.
footsteps are being. If you lean against a door, you can eavesdrop and even make a guess on how big the room is based on the echo. Even with the sound
Whoa.
quality being so compressed, the effect makes it work masterfully. Besides how light and shadows are cast, you're keeping an eye on the floor surfaces, too. A fancy carpet is almost silent to walk on, whereas something like ceramic tile or metal will be loud and echo. So you need to avoid the loud surfaces, or use your tools to make them quieter. It makes you really pay attention to the sound in a way that a lot of stealth games still don't. The ambient soundscape is great too, so there's a lot of enjoyable listening.
It's very lit here. That's the last time I make that joke, I'm sorry. This is what I mean, this is what I mean. Bro, it's a fucking horror game. Big ass cog.
Okay, enjoyable might have been the wrong word, but it's good. There's a tension to playing Thief, and the sound immerses you in it. This is one of those games that ties the music with each level's ambient sound effects. The tracks you do hear most of the time are suspenseful, a constant reminder that you don't want to be caught. Some border on being white noise, and others sound like something John Carpenter might have made. You seem to only get these snippets of music while actually playing the game, but what's there is mainly
John
great.
Carpenter?
Except for the Thieves Guild. Jesus Christ, it's so compressed. It's like I'm hearing the Matrix through a wristwatch game.
Sounds like something
So that
from
sucks,
Vampire
but the highlight of the
Masquerade.
music is in the cutscenes. You get
In a
one before
club.
every mission and they're great. They build up intrigue or hype you up for the mission. Usually both. And they're accompanied by these smoky, sometimes surreal images. Even the most simplistic, straightforward missions have so much added onto them.
Farkus?
Farkas is one of the few merchants willing to risk selling to an independent like me, and his prices are steep. But the other choice is to let one of the so-called city wardens give me orders and take a cut of my profits. They've been after me for years to join one of their stables, but I'm not interested. Maybe they'll get the idea and give up. More likely, they'll just ramp up the threats. I was contacted by a woman named Victoria.
Damn, that bitch got. Whoa, whoa, whoa! When did they make lip injections? Damn, woman, those some big ass lips.
Client who was
Sorry.
impressed by the way I took care of Ramirez, and now wants me to steal something for him.
I need an artist like yourself.
What exactly is this item?
It is the gemstone called the Eye.
It's remarkably
The
stylish
eye?
and really elevated by
Just
the voice
the eye?
acting. It's well directed and draws you in, which is pretty funny when you compare it to
Yeah,
the
the
NPCs in the actual
tiger.
game. There is some prime cut ham.
You'll be full of holes! Ooh, I think a baby bird pecked me. But I was thinking we should watch the inside.
I wish they made it so when you hit someone's helmet, it would make that little bonk sound. You know, if you hit metal with a wooden club, it would probably make a loud ass sound. But I guess that would make the game pretty fucking hard.
Then you catch them before they get inside you, Taffer.
There's so much character. So with that, let's get into the gameplay, starting with the difficulty. The settings in Thief work very differently than most
Very
games.
dramatic.
Typically, it would be something like enemies hit harder and more accurately, sometimes
Ooh.
very accurately.
That's Fear 1, right? Oh, such a good game.
Accurately,
I'll play it in,
sometimes
like, 10
very
years
accurately.
plus.
Or they become bullet sponges that dish out more damage with no AI
not
changes.
sure what this is.
That's all standard by now, but Thief does none of
Oblivion?
that. Enemy stats and AI aren't tweaked at all. Instead, tweaking the difficulty will add more objectives. These are customized for every level. It could be something as simple as you have to steal more treasure, or you could need to go into a dangerous area that you wouldn't otherwise to complete a task. The levels themselves can change with new areas opening up to complete your missions. Easier enemy types can be replaced by stronger ones.
I wish games would do this more often. I wish they would give you more incentive to play on the harder difficulties besides the whole usual it makes the game harder by bloating HPs and damage. I hate that. That's why I fucking despise Oblivion's and like the Elder Scrolls combat systems, like difficult systems. I despise those.
And frequently you get the challenge of not killing anybody, though knocking them unconscious is a-okay. But it's not entirely clear how long they'll stay alive, because your most common method will be bludgeoning them over the head with a blackjack. They don't have CAT
it's
scans
bunny
to find
hopping.
brain injury. Instead, they have drill a hole into your skull to let out the evil spirits. But considering healthcare costs here in America, instead they have drill a hole into your skull to let out the evil spirits.
Bro, I think you're drilling a little too much, my friend. I think you might be cutting off like a little too much of the important parts. My guy, he does not even look like he gives a fuck.
But considering healthcare
Jesus
costs here in America,
Christ.
over the long run, it could be an improvement.
Okay.
So this does add replayability, but a lot of the tension does come from not knowing the map layout. Your maps can be old and incomplete and only vaguely show where you are, so you'll be more confident on a replay. I'd strongly advise playing the maps on hard even if you're new, because I do think you miss out on a lot on normal. Don't be afraid to go right into expert either, just make sure to scour each room carefully. You never need all the treasure in a map on expert, but you'll need a lot. Even replaying it all now, there was still a time I had to hunt around for the last piece I needed.
Yoink.
Oh, thank God. Speaking of treasure, you do get to cash out, it's not just for show. Before each mission, there will be some items you can buy and more unlock as the game progresses. What's important here is that money does not carry over between missions, so whatever you grab in one heist is only good for the next. Anything you don't spend is wasted, so you do want to try and zero it out. I know some people don't like this, but I've always found it to be a blessing. I'm the kind of guy who holds a health potion in the game until the end of time.
Same, bro. Same. I'm a loot whore as well. I like to keep my loot. Use as minimum as possible.
So
Damn.
in Thief, I have an incentive to use all my tools rather than wait for a rainy.
That was fuck. What's that game called? This game is very good. This RPG.
Incentive to use all my thing you
What's it
don't
called?
spend is wasted, so you do want to try and zero it out. I know some people don't like this,
I
but
know
I've
this.
always found it to be a blessing. I'm the kind of guy who
Oh no, this is Tyranny. I thought it was with the other that had like 1 and 2, because they use the same potions. So This tyranny.
holds a health potion in the game until the end of time.
Wasn't a
So in
big
Thief,
fan
I
of
have an
tyranny.
incentive to use all my tools rather than wait for a rainy day that never comes. And there are all kinds of tools at your disposal. The blackjack mentioned before is good for non-lethal takedowns, but only if they're caught unaware. If you come from the front, it's not a Vulcan nerve pinch anymore, you're just beating them to death with a blackjack. So you do have some proper lethal options at your disposal. You have basic broadhead arrows for striking from range, which are later
Skaven?
complemented by fiery arrows for breaking the Geneva Convention at a distance, and then you have a trusty sword for killing up close. It's a simple system of knowing when to time your hits and parrying. What's kind of funny is that even years after this, there were still highly acclaimed melee-focused games that wouldn't let you parry on command. But here in Thief, you
How
can
do
have
I
a proper
block?
duel. So really, why bother sneaking? The guards don't seem too bad. Jesus Christ, there are so many guards. And these enemies get fast. There's no way I can
Damn.
keep up. So there's a lesson to be learned here. And you are warned in training. Garrett's a thief. Garrett is not a master sword fighter. The melee on your end has a stiffness to it. Your swings might keep up with some early enemies, but they'll pale in comparison to even mid-game
Boink.
ones. Because you can win these fights, but the racket might attract more enemies, and it's just not as efficient as being sneaky. Your enemies are dangerous. There are lots of great immersive sim games that let you do all kinds of combat. The problems start to creep in when stealth becomes an option, because whatever your obstacles are still have to account for the combat players. Let me pick on this one for a second. I like Dishonored a lot, and I have heard the
Okay.
second game is better about this issue, but I haven't played it yet. You can be a sneaky boy in Dishonored, but it's still an option.
I didn't beat Dishonored 2. Dishonored 1 is amazing.
Even on the hardest difficulty, if something goes wrong, you have all kinds of magic and powers and weapons to help you get out of it. On top of that, if you kill too many people, you get the bad ending.
Yes.
So you're hiding to protect the enemies from you, instead of hiding from them because they're a threat.
True.
Thief won't let you
True. I agree with that. You have that feeling. Like Dishonored makes you, especially once you get like time stops, bigger blinks, the little thing, it becomes child's play. Like you're basically saving the enemy from you, not, you know. You become a god in that game.
blast wind magic or summon swarms of rats, and Dishonored's combat will always be better. But it will remain the tenser game because of its limited combat options.
True.
This kind of thing goes for a lot of modern stealth games.
True.
I'm sure some of you remember when Assassin's Creed was at least pretending to try. Most of Thief's tools and weapons are all about affecting the environment, the constant.
Wait. When was that? When was that? I don't remember that. Combat in newer games is actually harder. All I remember from old Assassin's Creed games is holding a right click, pressing left click as the enemy attacks, and me insta-killing 50,000 people. What do you mean? Which Assassin's Creed had hard combat? I don't remember that. Pretty sure the first one also had easy as fuck combat as well. Second one gave you more options. Brotherhood did the chain counters, which made the game even easier, I think. I don't know, I remember Assassin's Creed with hard combat, to be honest.
This kind of thing goes for a lot of modern stealth games. I'm sure some of you remember when Assassin's Creed was at least pretending to try.
No.
Most of Thief's tools and weapons are
Nah.
all about affecting the environment, the constant enemy. You have water arrows to snuff out torches and make it darker, moss arrows spread out a quiet carpeted surface on a loud floor, or you could use a noisemaker arrow to distract from the sounds you are making, and rope arrows can help you avoid problem areas entirely or open up a new angle of getting somewhere. It doesn't hold your hand, but it's not overly complicated either. You have some options for getting around and some tools at your disposal, but it's all themed around stealth, because you could knock out a guard to take their key, but now have to deal with hiding a body. Plus, if you do screw up the takedown, they're gonna run off and get help. So instead you can remain sneaky and do some pickpocketing work to get the key. If you do have to fight, why do it fairly? Give them the Korean DMZ special and litter some landmines around. It really is just that easy. As much as I do like a straightforward fight, I do like games that let you be unconventional. Thief's method of dropping you down in a big map with multiple objectives and limited tools is awesome, and I always get excited to see more games like that. When I first played Ground Zeroes, I thought the Phantom Pain would be that on a large scale. It didn't seem too crazy to me back then, but I was also one of those weirdos who put far too much time into it. That turned out
Whoa!
not to be
My boy played 33 hours of Ground Zero?
Phantom Pain would be that on a large scale. It didn't seem too crazy to me back then, but I was also one of those weirdos who put far too much time into
Wow. Okay, Grandmaster.
it. That turned out not to be the case. So now I want to go over Thief's levels and pacing.
What do
It's
you
a
mean?
roller
I
coaster.
love Phantom Pain. Kinda sucks that they didn't finish the game, but I love the gameplay in that game. Though it did also have that little problem. Once you have like the upgraded armor and the weapons, it does become a little bit of a. I mean, you can kill pretty much everybody, right?
After completing your training, your
Gamescom is a
first
little
real
too
mission
easy.
is to
It's
break
too
into a manor.
too
This mission is still
forgiving.
training you how to navigate Thief. Even breaking in, there are all kinds of caches and side passages to explore. Sneak quietly, steal quickly, don't get caught. There aren't many surprises here, and it makes for an excellent introduction. You can pick up tidbits of lore here and there and learn more about how the world works.
They just don't make bears like they used to. Whoa.
When that's all done with, the
Whoa.
second mission is when things get more elaborate. It's a prison break-in, and the map is significantly more complex. The entire thing is built over a mine where the undead are roaming free. True to their name, the undead aren't staying down when you kill them. It's very much a 0 to 60 experience. You're introduced to the supernatural, more dangerous enemies, louder floors, cameras, alarms. It's a big step,
Boink,
but still a
boink.
break-in mission. It's expansive, but it gives you a better idea of what to expect for the length of the missions. It's really the next one where opinions start to get divided. The Bone Horde is even more of a maze, but you don't have to hide from guards this time. I'm guessing they wouldn't be able to find their way around. Instead, you
am
fight
I?
traps, puking lizards, and hordes of undead. You can still sneak around them, but stealth doesn't seem to be the focus here. Instead of a sleuthy B&E, this is a tomb raid. Understandably, a lot of players hated this
Tomb
shift.
Raider?
Getting caught doesn't matter as much anymore. There are no humans to spare, so everything is free to be killed. Based on the expectations set by the missions before, there's some fair critique out there. My take is that this tomb raid is fucking sick. This is one of my favorite video game dungeons. Sure, you could go full paladin and start smiting the undead
Full
like they're on sale,
paladin.
but you don't have
Damn.
to. You can use your agility to dodge past the enemies, use rope arrows, lead them into traps. I've always found it odd to see people describe it as a combat-centric level when it's really not, and that's a choice. I mean, they're zombies. They're dumb, they're slow. If you don't want to deal with them old brains, just
Don't.
walk around them. The Brap Lizards aren't exactly scientists either. I've always seen the Bone Horde as a movement and navigation test. Nearly all the major treasures are about avoiding traps, mastering a jumping and climbing, or both at the same time. It's a good case of wax on, wax off for some later levels, though it is abrupt.
Maybe that's why they put it on the second level, on the third level, so you learn the, you know, jumping stuff, help you figure some new ways out for the next missions. Pretty smart,
For Mission 3.
I think. Makes
It
sense,
is a
right?
sprawling tomb, and even the prison had a clearer layout once you get inside of it. Starting to get the hang of guards and then being thrown into this definitely offsets some people. But I've always found it fun, even if it wasn't what I was expecting. That said, the golden bone treasure that got added in could have been implemented a lot better. But I'll talk about Thief Guild in a moment. Typically, most people who hate the Bone Horde are really happy with the next mission. This one has you tailing some guards through the city, and if you've played some other stealth games, you might think it's a time waster. But no, you break into an even more elaborate manner than the first mission.
Okay.
There are tons of options and secret passages
Right.
for getting around.
Let's be honest. Assassin's Creed tailing missions make you want to fucking break something. I hate those missions. They're too long. They're too stupid. The dude fucking... I'm on the roof. He turns around. He sees me from 2,000 miles away. Why? How? Explain game. I hated those missions.
Then you have
Fuck
to
them.
escape
And they're in
back
every
out of the
Assassin's
city.
Creed game.
So
Every...
following the guards there meant you were learning the layout, and it wasn't for no reason. It is so good. In the base game, my favorite mission is right after this. But the game I and most people will be playing is
He
Thieves
jumps a
Guild.
lot, my
It
boy.
changes some things around in some existing levels, but most importantly, it adds 3 more. So instead of an awesome level, which I won't be talking about until spoilers, we get the Thieves Guild. So how does that go? Well, the map starts promising with a restaurant that then goes into a sewer and... Oh god.
Wait,
How
there's...
big is this map? Oh, Jesus Christ. The Thieves Guild is huge, and it's a maze. It starts
Damn.
promising with a restaurant and hidden underground casino, but then it becomes a sewer, and mostly stays a sewer. When you're not walking through actual shit, the basements aren't very detailed and just ugly. The thing is, there are still cool parts about the Thieves Guild. When you are out of the sewers, you have 2 unique houses to break into. As the title says, it's against a new faction, the
Jump
Gang of
attack them.
Thieves. They know who Garrett is, and if they see you there, they cry out and can't believe you're actually doing what you're doing. It adds context into who Garrett is and has some good ideas, but there's... okay, where do I start? Okay, I'll be generous. I don't think that the Thieves Guild should be wiped off the face of the earth. The first issue is the pacing of where it is in the game. The Bone Horde was a curveball, but this is a much worse one for different reasons. The mission before it, Assassins, is a great heist map. It's very open, and there are a lot of options for entering the building. Even the Bone Horde was in a tomb, but it didn't feel too restricting. Compare that to the Thieves' Gutter, which is very much so. You need to do pump Sudoku to open doors and other back and forth garbage.
Oh,
so much
God.
looks the same. I could eyeball some landmarks before, but this was the first time I really had to use my compass and map in tandem. And if you do that, the sewer navigation is more tolerable, but still annoying. So if the map is such a convoluted maze, why not move it farther into the game? Because you can't for story reasons. This is the last of the roughly standalone missions before the story kicks off.
Oh.
In the base game, you later had to find 4 special objects, and 2 of them were in 2 maps. Gold Edition added 2 more maps, so each object would have its own unique mission. It didn't break the narrative, it just added some more into it. The new Mage Towers mission has you conquer some elementally themed obstacle courses. Where the other levels tried to have grounded backstories, this one seems the most like a video game. I got the distinct feeling that the Dark Engine couldn't really comprehend moving platforms, which makes me question some later decisions even more, but the many aren't in this game yet.
Do not let fear control your path, Garrett.
Or maybe they are.
Okay,
the final
Tomb
mission
Lord.
they added has crab people, and an opera theater. That's the best of the gold maps, so I won't say more on it. These later 2 maps are big, but they fit in with the overall pace.
Fair
The
enough.
Thieves Guild
You
has
have
to be
Skaven
mission
in, so
5,
who cares?
so how could it be fixed up? Well, if the sewer was an option and there was a heavily guarded overworld, that might make it more appealing. But the map is already so dense that maybe they were at their limit.
Wait.
The sewer areas
Wait,
could
I
have
just realized, when I was a kid, I stopped at the second mission. Jesus, I was a fucking bitch.
been more distinct, and there are a few that stand out. A criminal underground
Wow.
city could be cool if it was more distinct. Finally, some of the back and forthing could be cut down because it's unnecessary. I've been the shit far too long as is. If I remember right, in City's
Bruh.
Petty Thief series, he said for the Thieves
You threw my boy in the shit. That's
Guild to be
very
destroyed
shitty of you. That's a
completely.
shitty
I can
situation.
understand that, especially coming from a man who is just plagued by sewers. But if you're new to Thief, you can save at the beginning and then just use a cheat code to skip the level. Try it
Oh.
again after you beat the game, because you might find more to it after playing some of those later missions. The first time through, I hated this mission, but on replay, I think that goes to Mage Towers instead. The trials are fine the first time through, but it is exceptionally linear, which is a shame because the keep in the center is a lot of fun, but you have to do so much to get to that part. Great! Before I get into spoilers, I want to talk about how the game tells its story. Ironically, you're mainly kept in the dark about what's going on in the larger world. Garrett faces off against
Archmage.
city guards, other criminals, and a religious organization called the Order of the Hammer. The thing is, none of these groups are pure evil or
Hammer time.
anything. You get the sense that everyone is just trying to get by.
How's it going?
Garrett's not out for vengeance or anything.
Hey, I like those the best. Stories that make it believable. Not everyone's like completely and 100% evil. Destroy the earth, everyone enslaved. Yes. Why? I don't know. I'm evil. Okay, kill me. Kill me. I hate stories like that.
So
Give
I
me some
decided to
reason
go
to
after
believe.
that horn Felix
Make it
talked
believable.
about. Not like I had a whole lot of choice, really. The rent is due. My landlord's even tougher than the Hammers.
He's crawling through haunted tombs because he's
Damn.
trying to make rent. That's relatable.
That's fucked
However,
up.
there's still a great focus on the Hammers. They worship a mythical figure called the Builder, and his imagery is everywhere. They're a technocracy, all about moving forward,
The one
constructing,
that
and
built
inventing.
Winterfell?
They also have a strong sense of keeping order. Build up the city, hammer down dissent. This makes them perfect ideological rivals. It's not personal, but almost all they do makes Garrett's job harder. Water arrows can't put out their electric lights. Their wonders of metal and tile flooring are way louder to walk on. They actively imprison Garrett's fences and contacts and other troublemakers. Hammers make, Garrett take. The best part is that they don't tell all this through an
Hammers
in-game
make,
encyclopedia
Garrett
or
take.
something. It's all conveyed through dealing with them by playing the game. The level design and some environmental storytelling is great. Like, here's an example. And I don't even know if it's intentional. At this point in the game, you've probably seen an ornate bedroom. Fancy head and footboard, lots of treasures in the room, and it's away from main guard quarters.
Okay.
Deep in a Hammerite facility, you get the same sense that you're where the elite hang out. The stonework is becoming ornate, the hammer iconography is showing up more. It's getting bougie. Then you find a hammer bedroom, and bam. We don't sleep. This pew is a meter from the wall just staring at a hammer. This instantly conveys so much about the Hammerites and how they are. You don't have a
Damn.
wall of fluff about how strict the regime is, you just have this. It all happens by simply playing the game, and you learn more about the hammers and other missions this way too. Sometimes things are spelled out, but you can put together a lot on your own organically.
That's the best exposition. When you learn through the gameplay what a faction is, instead of having some dude tell you for 30 minutes what a faction is and their motives.
Every single mission begins with a hammer-themed cutscene, but it doesn't say what the hammers are, instead you read their scripture.
The stone cannot know why the chisel cleaves it. The iron cannot know why the fire scorches it. When thy life is cleft and scorched, when death and despair leap at thee, beat not thy breast and curse thy evil fate, but thank the builder for the trials that shaped thee. The Hammer
I
Book
love
of
it so
Tenets.
much. There's one level I have to talk about and more story to cover, but that's it for non-spoilers. So if you want to get past all those, go to here.
I'm Gucci, brother. Good, good.
Okay, the sword. This is my favorite mission in the game and flat out one of my favorite video game levels. Garrett is hired to steal a magical sword from an eccentric noble named Constantine. This would make your third break into a mansion, so you have some confidence behind you. Just like the others, the front is heavily guarded, so you look for another way in. The difference is, compared to the other jobs, you barely know anything
Shit
about what's
cops here.
inside. There's not much room for casing the place out either. All you can tell is that the building is a lot bigger than the other ones, and why is that window crooked? A little strange, but it's easy to get in.
Is he
After
a
the Bone
mage?
Horde, you've gotten pretty good at climbing. It's a lavish mansion, and there's a lot of treasure to be found. But it's well guarded, and some of it is more hidden. The deeper you go, the more strange things become. The rooms don't make sense anymore, and they don't seem to have a purpose. Even the layout of the more mundane rooms seem like something's off or elongated. It was supposed to be a normal job, but things keep getting creepier. The orientation of rooms shift completely, and eventually the mansion just gives up pretending it's supposed to be something normal. And while all this is happening, the guards are still on the hunt. It is such a trip. Why is there a jungle inside this? Are the rooms and furniture going to keep flipping? What's the deal with the shrunken town or the gigantic room? Why is the laughter in the walls getting louder? If the other levels had you feeling deep behind lines, this one really does it. You have no help, no expectations, it's just you versus the madhouse. Up until now, every map had logic and purpose behind its use, and now you've been thrown completely into the deep end of what the hell is happening. For narrative purposes, Garrett doesn't need to say anything. His only remark on any of it is when you actually get the sword.
Time to take my new sword and get out of this crazy place.
Can you use it?
That was it. The madness isn't overly foreshadowed, and it's not constantly talked over. It's a kind of restraint that I wish some other games had. At the end of all of it, it turned out it was Constantine who hired you. The entire job was to test how good you were for his real assignment, stealing an artifact called the Eye from a haunted
I should have thought of that. They do that in a lot of different things.
cathedral deep inside undead territory.
Okay.
But unlocking the cathedral means taking some other jobs to get the talismans to open it. This leads to a twist, and I've heard some friends call it a bad one. Constantine and the artifact are actually evil. Yeah?
The keepers have sealed the door,
Surprise?
and only they know how to open them.
I never got the vibe this was an artifact for good. The one tightly sealed inside a cathedral because it fell to ultimate evil. You're being hired by a powerful and wealthy man who isn't using other channels to do this. I never saw this guy and his assignment being bad news as a twist. It's the degree of just how bad he is.
Okay.
I can't tell you how pleased I am with you, Mr. Garrett. I simply can't find the words. But perhaps Victoria can help me in that regard. She has such a way with them.
Yes, we are both so very pleased.
Victoria?
Even though the eye is defective.
What?
Victoria is quite right, Mr. Garrett. I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but this eye is completely blind.
It's a rock. It's what you asked for. Am I gonna get paid or not?
Of course. Victoria, are you prepared to give Mr. Garrett his compensation?
Did you summon the devil? Nice titties, bitch.
Bow to the woodsy lord, and offer up your flesh eye so that his eye of stone may see, man fool. Bids he then the spruces to singer him an anthems, and the woodsy lord binders them fleshes to stone.
Did you think those
Oh.
ancient phrases were mere words, man fool? Look at me.
You summon Satan.
The woodsy lord, the trickster of legend.
Did you think those ancient phrases were mere words? The scriptures before the missions were worth paying attention to, and the levels had some hints as well. The nemesis of the hammers were pagans and forest spirits, all of which were led by the woodsy lord who they believe the builder drove off, which means some of that artwork had more to it as well.
Oh.
The mansion and the sword now lines up too. You're not dealing with another weird 1%er, he's a pagan god. Garrett has just found out that Satan is real and he's helped his plan somehow. He doesn't quip or swear revenge for getting his eye taken, he does this, cowering in pure horror. This shit is nuts. It's such a real reaction. What's also cool is you have no idea what his plan is unless you explore around in a level. His ultimate plan is to wipe out human civilization and snuff out all light. Once my dark project is realized, they shall know again to fear and love their lord. Not only is the writing stellar, but there's a lot of irony here too. Taking away luxuries and snuffing out light is what you've been doing all game, and now someone is out to do it to everyone and everything. So the hammers who you've been plaguing all game team up with you to stop him. Narratively this is all great, but as for the missions themselves, it's not the high point. Two of the missions have maps that are partial remixes of what you played before.
Oh.
The mansion from the sword is now being overrun by plant life and strange new creatures, and a hammer temple is being actively invaded. It's not the
Lizardman?
remixing that's the issue, but these missions are strongly pushing you towards combat now. You can try to sneak around and run past them like you could in the Bone Horde, but there are less options now, and it
Why
seems
are they
more set up
walking
for
like that?
confrontation. One mission will even add a kill enemies objective if you damage one, so it seems like a lot of fighting inside some anthills. And unlike before where getting around that stuff was an option, here it feels like you're playing it wrong. The final mission is the complete opposite. Instead of constant combat— oh, shit. Jesus Christ. Here you can blow past everything. It's still an anthill, but this time you have a ton of room to move around, and it's very linear. It is neat running around in a Chaos Realm, and there are some standout moments, but it feels like wasted potential. I don't get the sense of it being an ultimate test of skill or anything. It's way too simple for that. The final boss is doing a sneaky item switcheroo. Once again, this is a piece of cake, but you know, I feel kind of thankful. There could have been a terrible stiff boss fight. This is at least appropriate for the game, and frankly I'll take a quiet
Fair
ending
enough.
over a painful one any day. The world is saved. The hammers give Garrett a shiny new eye for his troubles,
Oh.
and that's it until Thief 2. So, final
We got a new
thoughts.
eye.
Thief has its stumbles. Some things are stiff and awkward, and even after years of community fixes,
Are you
things can bug
boinking
out
a
sometimes.
grandma?
It's no less cheesable than any stealth game now. Even when things are working, the later levels do have some confusing direction behind them. But all that is expected because this is the first of its kind. You didn't have a first-person stealth game like this. The series went on, but there weren't many imitators. There were a lot of other immersive sim games, but they focused more on becoming more powerful rather than staying vulnerable. Tons of stealth games came out, but most went to third person. Thief is still an amazing game all these years later, and when you're done with the campaign, there are loads of fan missions to play. Because of its age, it stays cheap, and it'll be even cheaper for the next while. A lot cheaper. The on-screen link or pinned comment will make it 86% off. The entire
Damn.
trilogy is on sale for 90% off. There was some good negotiating. So in that vein, I'm not done yet.
Damn,
Come
brother.
back next time for Thief 2. It'd be fun to go through the whole trilogy. Maybe the Dark mod. It'll happen eventually.
Oh,
Hopefully
he didn't
before
fall down.
Gloomwood.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, brother.
We made it to the new year. There's a lot to do, but I'm excited for it. Do I think a good westernized EDF is possible?
Jam
I don't want to
fucker.
say it would be impossible, but I think a westernized version would either be way too dark or way too tongue-in-cheek. They're on such a tightrope already, but they make it work. Which fellow YouTubers can you beat in a fist fight? You, Sparky, I'm gonna destroy you. Doom 3 and Quake 4 were both departures from the series. Which do you think was the better evolution? I mean, evolution is a strong word for it. I definitely like Quake 4 a lot more as a sequel to Quake 2. I always thought the Strogg were a really creepy and fascinating enemy. It's been so many years that I should
Never
probably
played
give Doom
any-
3 another
any
chance,
Quake
but
game.
I think Doom 64 was what I was looking for. If you've never played Doom 64, I highly recommend that. Any plans of making a Bannerlord video now that it's out? Someone asked
Wait.
me about Bannerlord in one of these a long
Wait, I don't think it's out yet. I think it's still in early access, no?
time ago. I'm pretty sure I said I'd be dead by the time it came out. The thing is, it's early access. There's
Yeah.
still time. If I make it to the 1.0 or whatever the release version is, then sure, there'll be a Bannerlord video. But
Nice.
until then, there's more to do.
I watch Kino sometimes.
This is no place for you.
Oh, it turned into Cyberpunk.
I don't think there's a way in.
This is your last.
Well, that was fun. I don't think I'll play it. I don't like playing these older, very clunky games, so I don't think I'll play it. I don't mind the spoilers, but yeah. I was very scared when I played this earlier. I wonder, what are your experiences with Thief 1? Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch y'all next time. Quick thank you to the YouTube members and patrons. Pedro Martinez, Commands, Korean, Asterix, New Hilter, Lemon Monarch, Madash, Ronic, James Blunt, Rui Hideki 25, Michael Museo, Nicole Girgiev, Charlie, Leroy, Olivia Sangri, the Azazeus. Thank you. Thank you all for the support, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye bye, everybody.